Hello everyone! The purpose of this video is to run through some quick examples of alkane names. So remember that alkanes, if they're straight chains, are singly bonded carbon and hydrogen compounds. And you're going to want to get out some flashcards to memorize at least the first four. So if we have a single carbon compound, and that's a CH4, the name for that is methane. If we have two carbons in a straight chain, and that would be represented by C2H6, the name for that is ethane. Three carbons, C3H8, is going to be propane. And then C4H10 is butane. Okay, so after that, when we get up to 5 carbons, we start using the Greek prefixes, where the Greek word for 5 would be pent. And think of a pentagon. A pentagon has 5 sides, and so pentane has 5 carbons. And then getting up to 6, if you have a hexagon, that has 6 sides, and therefore it is hexane if we have 6 carbons. Okay, if you continue up, in this class we only go up to 10. 7 carbons is heptane. 8, think of an octopus. An octopus has 8 legs, and so therefore 8 carbons is octane. 9 is nonane. It might just help to know N for 9 and N for nonane. And then 10 would be a decagon or a decade, and that is decane. Okay, so you do want to memorize the first 10, going from methane down to decane. And then the other type of hydrocarbons that you might see are cycloalkanes. And the nice thing is that if you have a cycloalkane, which is nothing more than a ring structure, so it's if we take that straight chain and we connect it together to form a closed ring, that we're just going to add the word cyclo in front of the name. So propane, remember propane had 3 carbons, and if we're looking at a skeletal structure, it's every corner. So if you have 3 corners, 3 carbons, because it's a ring structure, we add the prefix cyclo and then propane for 3 carbons. If you have a hexagon, remember that has 6 corners, and it's a closed ring structure, so that's cyclo, and then 6 is hexane. Okay, so let's just try a few quick examples here. Let's say that we have a skeletal structure like this, and they ask us, what is the name? Well, the first thing you have to do is count up the number of carbons, and remember carbons are going to be on the end and at every corner. And so if we count that up, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7 carbons, remember the prefix for 7 is hept, and it becomes heptane. Okay, let's say that we're given this structure, it's a square, and asked to name that one. Again, you count up the corners, 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, and remember 4 carbons is butane, but because it's a ring, we want to include the prefix cyclo. So you should get cyclobutane. Okay, last one. Okay, this time we're given the condensed structure. All we have to do is count up the number of carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, recognize that it is a straight chain, and therefore we're going to call that pent for 5, pentagon, and it becomes pentane. Okay, let's try just a couple where we're given the name. So let's say we're given the name cyclopentane. Okay, and if we want to draw the skeletal structure, it's going to look like a pentagon. And if we had to draw the condensed, every carbon would have 2 hydrogens. So in these ring structures, as long as it's a cycloalkane, every carbon has 2 hydrogens. Okay, and we'll try one last one. Let's draw the skeletal and condensed structure for propane. Remember, propane is 3 carbons. And so therefore, every end of a line represents a carbon and the corner. So for the skeletal structure, we just need 2 lines. Or if we wanted to do the condensed, every carbon at the end is a CH3, and then the carbons in the middle are CH2. Okay, so again, just make sure that you memorize the first 4, methane, ethane, propane, and butane, and then use your Greek prefixes or memorize those. Pentane for 5, hexane for 6, heptane for 7, octane for 8, nonane for 9, and decane for 10.